I'm Francis.
And I'm Sue.
We've been married for 52 years and we've gone through 6 kids, 13 grandkids. And on the process, we learned some things about how in the world we could survive this financially. We'd like to share some of them with you. The first one is that basically it's sometimes a hard lesson to learn, but that is spend less than you make.
That's a tough one.
Because what we have to do in order to do that sometimes is to figure out what we really need and what we think we want. Because oftentimes we want something, and if we go out in the spur of the moment and buy it, we can spend money that we really should have spent in some other way. So that's a tough one because it's very easy in this day and age. Oh, it's only an extra $10 a month, or it's only another $20 a month. But you start adding all that up and you got a lot of money. So that's the first item, is just spend less than you earn and don't let them nickel and dime you.
You need a sinking fund.
Well, that's another thing. Yeah, exactly. If you have an insurance policy that's coming up every 6 months and you always panic every time it comes around because, oh my gosh, where am I going to get my money from? You can say, well, okay, I'll save $100 a month in a separate account just for that. I'll save $100 a month so that when the insurance comes up, I've got just to write a check. $600, not a sweat. Do that for your house payment. You can do that for your insurance on the house. You can do that for any large expenses that might come up only every 6 months or every year. And you can also bargain with the insurance companies because a lot of them will charge you less if you pay for a year rather than if you pay for 6 months at a time. So another thing is save for a time of no income. We had a time in our marriage where we had the kids and we had a mortgage on a house. We had a sailboat and a truck and camper and horses and all these wonderful things. And we had a reduction in force where I worked. So bingo, out of money. I mean, not out of money, but out of a job, out of a steady income. But what we had learned from her dad was to save money for a rainy day. So over the years, we didn't spend everything we earned. We put money aside for a tragedy like being out of work. And we all know what that means. So by doing that, when I came home and said, well, they're cutting out a bunch of folks and I'm one of them, I was able to say, well, that's okay, we've got money in the bank, we've been saving. And in the process of it, we also did some other things. We sold our sailboat. We didn't need that anymore. Didn't need to have the dock fees for it. We sold the truck and camper, and that money went for food on the table.
Wow, you know, when I was a kid, I remember selling the truck and camper and the sailboat, and we didn't understand why. You just said, well, we don't really use them anymore, and I had no idea that you guys were making the hard decisions to feed your kids instead of holding on to things that you had acquired.
Yeah, but we didn't get rid of the horses.
Well, each of you kids had a horse, and we weren't going to take that away from you.
Wow. So, Dad, you gave up things that, I mean, I know now as an adult, were really, really important to you.
Yeah, I did, but my kids are more important. Yeah. And that's why we ever even brought up the subject of getting rid of the horses.
Wow. And you knew that was Mom's love.
It was, absolutely. It's been her passion for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So the next thing is that pay cash for whatever goes down in value after you've bought it. You buy a car and all of a sudden it's worth 15% less than the day you drove it off the lot. And you just drove it off the lot.
2 days ago.
Yeah. So what that means is that you set yourself up a sinking fund. Like I said earlier, if you want to buy a car, start saving for the car. If the car payments would normally be $400 a month, start putting $400 a month in your bank account. And when you get the money for the car, then you go into the dealer and you can look, or, buy your new car, whatever, used car, whatever it is. A lot of people recommend buy a car 3 years old because you get a good deal, and I compare it to buying a brand new one and taking all that depreciation. But if you do that, you then have money, you're in the bargaining point. So the first thing you do when you walk into the dealer is going to say, well, you like this car, right? Yeah, I sure do. Well, let's talk about financing for it, shall we? And you say, well, sure, I'd love to talk financing about it, but let's talk about price first, okay? Because the dealers love to make their money on the financing. They'll give you a better break on a car if you're going to finance it. So just let them think you're going to finance it. Get your best deal on your car, and then when he says, can we talk about financing, you say, oh yeah, we want to talk about financing. Is a check okay? And you should see their faces. It's fun. So then the other thing is that if you can't pay your credit card off every month, something that we always did. We always paid our credit card off every month, come whatever, because we didn't want to pay 18, 20, 25% of interest. That's a lot of money when you start adding it up. And plus they put penalties on top of that. It's not worth it. If you can't pay your credit card off every month, get a citizen, cut them up.
So if you pay them off every month, why would you have a credit card?
Convenience, not carrying cash or having the right checks all the time.
Got it.
The other thing is put money aside for the future. Invest in something. Get something for which your money can grow. We're not going to go into that detail right now, but set some money aside so that you can have your money working for you and not always you working for your money. All right? And the final thing is that have a money plan. In other words, when you say, hey, this is how we're going to handle our money, say, well, I'm going to set a certain amount of money aside for the poor. I'm going to set a certain amount of money aside for investments. I'm going to set a certain amount of money for emergencies. Gosh, I might be out of work for 9 months or more. And set aside a certain amount of money so that you and your wife can both have fun. Just some flitter money, whatever they want to do with it. And make sure that if you're a married couple and the man's working and the wife is home, that she has some money that she can just spend on what she wants to spend on too. So we hope these thoughts will be give you a little thing to think about and talk about with your spouse, and may your future be bright with all kinds of green.